Do you have any plans to drop out before or after Super Tuesday?
No, a third of America hasn't voted yet, and they're going to be able to vote on Super Tuesday. States like Minnesota, states like Colorado, and right now only 3% of people have actually voted.
That was Senator Amy Klobuchar on Sunday, speaking with Esme Murphy of our Minneapolis station WCCO. The Minnesota lawmaker has since ended her presidential bid. She has also endorsed former Vice President Joe Biden. Minnesota is an important Super Tuesday state. 75 delegates will be awarded there. It's worth noting candidates must garner at least 15% of the vote to receive delegates in the state. For more, let's bring in Esme Murphy. She's a reporter and Sunday morning anchor for WCCO, and she joins me now from Minneapolis. Esme, thanks very much for being with us. Polls close in Minnesota at 8 p.m. local time. What are some of the biggest issues on the minds of Minnesotans as they vote today?
Well, there was a recent poll here by the Star Tribune that said 23% of the voters were concerned about health care. That was their number one issue. 18% said that their number one issue was climate change, and 14% said income inequality was their number one issue. That third one, I think, is very, very important here because that is Bernie Sanders' vote. For 14% of the people to say, even long before Amy Klobuchar dropped out, that that was their number one issue is an indication of just how strongly Sanders' message has resounded here and how well he is expected to do here.
Well, what happens, Esme, to votes cast for Senator Amy Klobuchar now, and how significant will early voting be in this contest?
Well, Elaine, this is really a great example, perhaps, of a downside to early voting. Minnesota has one of the longest early voting periods in the country. We started early voting on January 17th. That's 46 days. And I think there are a lot of people here wondering, maybe I shouldn't have early voted. There are 15 candidates on the Democratic ticket when voters go to the polls today. Only 5 of them are left in the race. And one of those who dropped out, of course, Senator Amy Klobuchar, dropping out really just hours before the polls opened here. So the early voting, I think, will have an impact. The bottom line, if your candidate is out, those votes don't count. And I think Amy Klobuchar will get a significant amount of votes here, as would Pete Buttigieg, but certainly less than Amy Klobuchar. So I think that it's going to be very interesting to see. One thing we won't know, though, is they won't divide the votes out for us, so we won't know what the percentage was before she dropped out and the percentage after she dropped out.
Well, since Klobuchar is no longer in the race, how have other candidates positioned themselves to do well in Minnesota?
Well, I think it's all about Bernie Sanders. And I think the polls here, there were 2 polls that have been done here in Minnesota that both showed Senator Bernie Sanders within the margin of error of catching Amy Klobuchar. This is before she dropped out. 4 years ago, he ended up beating Hillary Clinton here by almost 30 percentage points in the Minnesota caucuses. He has consistently performed better here than he has in polling here. So I think that there was an indication that Bernie Sanders actually had a chance to beat Senator Klobuchar here. She says she was convinced that she would have won, but I think there are a lot of pollsters here who say he really had a shot of beating her outright, and that may in fact have been a factor in her decision to drop out on the eve of Super Tuesday.
All right, Esme Murphy for us. Esme, thank you.